Wow. What an amazing pair of panels to close this conference with. Again, we want to start off by sharing thanks and gratitude. And first, we want to do that by thanking all of our sponsors, our presenting sponsor, Fair Trade USA, our organizing sponsors, Kroger, Simple Truth at Kroger. We want to thank our supporting sponsors, Aramark, Chartwells, Gavinia Gourmet Coffees, Numi Organic Tea, Wholesome Sweeteners, and Wholesome Harvest. Thanking our advocate sponsors at Bon Appetit, the Fair Trade Federation, Matarbumi, Patagonia Provisions, and TerraThread. And all of our promotional sponsors, again, who helped make sure as many people as possible knew about this event and rebroadcast this as we shifted to virtual to make sure we reached as broad an audience as possible. And of course, to our campus partners who were instrumental in ensuring that so many students, faculty, and staff were able to join us. And one more time to the sponsors that were providing product that we were all going to be enjoying at the conference. Gavinia Gourmet Coffees, whose coffee was going to be in all the beverage services as well as in the hotel rooms. Same for Numi Organic Tea, who was providing all of that tea and Wholesome Sweeteners. And of course, to our long-time conference partner in TerraThread for providing those tote bags. And we will work to figure out how we can get those things to you guys in the coming weeks. So what a day today. What a series of days. I want to share a few reflections of what we all learned over the course of this week that was packed full of guidance, inspiration, and practical action. From Wednesday night's inspiring messages and theme of interconnectedness, linking things so seemingly different, like the struggles of communities of refugees looking for dignified work, to city council members in Iowa City figuring out how fair trade fits in a climate action plan. We learned that whether it's a company of hundreds of thousands of farmers and growers or one with 800, that it's trust and interdependency that drives action. And impact, and that having these conversations that we're having, even if we can't see each other in person, is an act of resistance. On Thursday, on our day of breakouts, we learned practical ways to expand and grow our reach, whether how to tell authentic stories of impact on communities that we don't live in, and how telling those stories can be an integral way to grow a business or a movement, or to raise the funds we need to grow the fair trade movement in our local efforts. And we know that diversity has to be at every layer of our businesses and our movements, that the principles that undergird the systems and tools we use to build our activism online are as important as the tools themselves. And that influence doesn't come from authority anymore. It comes from trust. And it's about building communities. And then it's about connecting those communities, as Vic from Gallant and TerraThread told us through their fair trade story about helping farmers through sourcing fair trade organic cotton, and factory workers by paying fair trade premiums, empowering consumers by bringing those products to market, but also wanting to do more and deciding to partner with Feeding America to provide meals to people here in the U.S. who need them. Last night, we heard how one of the biggest metropolitan areas in the world is working across sectors to scale critical, meaningful impact, and how fair trade is being incorporated into that. And Funmi Lola reminded us that we have to invest in ourselves and our own sustainability if we're going to be effective in driving social and economic and environmental sustainability and justice. And then today, from an incredible lineup of amazing speakers and change makers and influencers, we saw how investing in and holding up innovation, even within just one sector, touches so many more lives than we can ever know. So we're committed to continuing and keeping this momentum going. I want to hand it over to Kylie now for some thoughts on where we go from here as a Fair Trade Campaigns community.
Before I dive into next steps and how we can keep the momentum going, I want to start with some more thank yous, because there are certainly plenty to go around. First, I want to sincerely thank all of our speakers and our wonderful MC. We could not have pulled this off without the dedication and the quick response of our speakers, who changed their schedules on the fly to keep their commitment to be with us, some while managing the COVID crisis at the campus and the city level. Thank you so much. And I know I echo everyone when I say that we've been so inspired and motivated by the insights that they have all shared. So thank you for that. And I want to thank Ben for being our MC. You are perfect for this role, and being a virtual MC is much different than in person. So thank you for stepping up to the role. And I'd also like to thank Billy. This conference and our day-to-day work in the Fair Trade Campaigns team, it simply would not be possible without your leadership, your passion, and your dedication to fair trade. Thank you. And our fellows for fielding questions, for taking notes, for capturing quotes, for posting on social. Our fellows have been a key part of the behind the scenes of this conference. And again, we could not have kept the conversation rolling without you. So what's next? Looking ahead. First, speaking of our fellows, we're hiring for next year's team. So we're looking for 8 new fellows to join our team for the 2020-2021 program in the Great Lakes, the Northeast, the Mid-Atlantic, and the Southwest. If you live in any of these regions, please do consider applying for a fellowship. It is a wonderful role, building leadership skills, volunteer management, communications and marketing, and you get to work with some pretty awesome team members, if I do say so myself. So look out for an announcement in our newsletter with more info on how to apply in the coming weeks. Now, how do we stay engaged? How do we keep the momentum going post-conference? First, and ask for all of you, please fill out the post-conference survey. As you all know, this was our first time doing a virtual conference, and we learned a lot in the process. We appreciate you bearing with us, and we want your feedback too. Please fill out the post-conference survey that you'll receive so we can make future virtual events even better. Next, share the conference content. We were so excited to be able to offer the content to everyone who registered for 60 days after the conference. It will be available in about 14 days. You'll get an email from Fair Trade Campaigns, and it'll be available on our YouTube channel forever. So definitely share the content. And as you're thinking about how to keep the momentum going with your campaigns, consider sharing via virtual screenings, virtual committee meetings. Let's really think about how to use this crisis as an opportunity to educate and to bring together more people than we might have been able to before. On that note, network calls and national webinars, those will all still roll through Fair Trade Campaigns. We've got network calls in those 4 regions coming up through the rest of the year. And we have a great set of national webinars, starting with World Refugee Day coming up in April, and we'll have one on National Copy Day in September and a couple in between. So stay tuned for those. And last but certainly not least, please stay connected to Fair Trade Campaigns via our communications. All of you should be on our newsletter by being registered for the conference. If you're not, we'll make sure you are. Follow us on social and really engage in the conversation online. And last, as we've heard throughout the conference, please do stay home during this time of crisis with COVID, support others, and most importantly, take care of yourself during this time of crisis. What we've learned is that self-care is important now more than ever. And as I wrap up, I want to thank you all sincerely for being here with us for our first ever virtual conference. You pivoted with us quickly. You chose to tune in and to lean in during such a challenging time, and for that, we are grateful. And last, but certainly not least, from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank all of our advocates across the country. For nearly 5 years now, I've had the privilege of working with student and community organizers all across the U.S. that are truly moving the needle on fair trade sourcing and education on their campuses and in their communities. And for that, I'm very grateful. Especially to the students and young people all across the country, the recent graduates, the people that are early on in their professional career. We see you, we recognize your effort, and we also know that the future feels uncertain right now, but you are critical to making sure that it's just and sustainable, and you have the skills, the experience, and the passion to do it. So go forth. Back over to you, Billy.
Thanks, Kylie. So a few additional thank yous before we go are in order, as this took more work over the last week than we have ever had to do in the week leading up to our conference. First and foremost, we need to thank the team that we worked with at Meet Green, our conference planning partner, Jennifer, Kate, Britta, Katie, and Sophie, who worked with us almost every day for the last 10 months and then kicked that into overdrive over the last couple of weeks, working nights and weekends as we made this shift to make this happen. Our longtime partners at the Nonprofit Leadership Alliance, who worked with us nearly in lockstep over the last 10 days as we made this change, and who helped us take an already planned in-person event and turn it into something that works online. And they also brought us to Digitel, who provided this platform, who also worked through the weekend and through evenings to pull this off. I also want to take a quick minute to thank a group that we would have been thanking nonstop and probably should have been all week, who was doing a lot of work with us in the planning of this conference, and that's the host committee that we worked with. Partners of ours like Fairtrade Los Angeles, Fairtrade Long Beach, Fairtrade Pasadena, we're working on the ground to really deliver a really meaningful program with a focus on Los Angeles and the greater Los Angeles area and our Southwest region. So we kept as many of those elements, as part of this new virtual platform, and we're so grateful for their partnership on the ground and their work. And we look forward to either a virtual or in-person party when we get to announce LA as the largest fair trade city in North America. And I do want to give one more thank you to our sponsors for sticking with us through this transition. As you guys know, business is being disrupted and threatened globally. And so for them to stay with us in this and continue their investment in all of our work and all of our ability to be part of this virtual event and grow our skills for our organizing is incredibly important. And I also want to thank our colleagues at Fairtrade USA who really stepped up over these last few weeks to make sure anything Kylie and I weren't able to cover was covered, and that anything we needed was handled. And then that brings me to my most gratitude, which is expressing our thanks to my incredible partner in Fairtrade campaigns, Kylie, whose leadership, whose initiative and calm throughout the storm is really what has guided us to this moment. And so many of you, get to interact and work with Kylie on almost a daily basis. So a few thoughts and reflections to close us out as we say goodbye. As our team made this last minute pivot to go virtual, our time has really been monopolized with logistics, from redesigning the program to re-enrolling these incredible speakers we heard from, keeping all of you informed and empowered to join us for this event, and working hard to reach even more people through, what is really a more accessible and inclusive platform. So in that hustle, I don't think we really had time to reflect as much on the backdrop of the disruption we're all experiencing because of COVID-19 in our daily lives, of campuses shutting down, schools closing, jobs turning remote, job insecurity, economic insecurity, let alone the psychological toll we're all feeling as we figure out how to stay home to save lives. So for me, it wasn't really until Wednesday night as we were getting started and I saw the numbers ticking up as you all logged in to join us that I realized how important creating spaces like these are right now and will be moving forward. So stay in this with us. This whole conference, as we've said over and over, will be available to you in the next few weeks. So watch what you didn't get a chance to watch live, rewatch what you drew inspiration from, use it to fuel you, stay in touch, be on social. We have to resist the pull towards convenience right now. We have to do the work we can while intentionally distancing to make sure we don't lose connection to each other and to the people around the world who are in even more precarious circumstances. Convenience of thought and convenience of action can become the default in times like this. And we cannot afford to backtrack on the progress that we've made just because we have to find new ways to take action and new ways to live our daily lives. So remember, resistance can look like choosing to order the products you need online from a small business selling fair trade versus an online shopping giant. Resistance can look like sending messages to the businesses who are right now thinking that it may be more profitable to drop those sustainability commitments they've made in order to protect short-term gains. We cannot afford to pass on the opportunity to insist that sustainability, especially in times of crisis, has to be non-negotiable. So think about how we can thrive and drive impact now, but also think about what opportunities are in front of us as we eventually emerge from this. Like Nealis said last night, it's not about silver linings. It's about finding opportunities to learn in a time of crisis. So as Fumilola reminded us, remember that caring for ourselves is not self-indulgence. It's self-preservation. And that is an act of political warfare. And that human beings and all of us have the power to be intentional enough to inform the circumstances that govern this world. And as Alexandria told us, the youngest of our presenters, with perhaps the most wisdom, be a fan, fun to amplify and narrate of the causes that you care about, and have Zoom parties to stay connected. So thank you all for sticking with us as we work to deliver our first ever virtual conference. We are so grateful and inspired by the work you're all doing every day to grow our movement. Please stay home. Please stay safe. Please stay connected. Thanks.